Giving all glory and honor and praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us 100% truth. Shalom and salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children of the hopeful elect. I'm your brother, Magan Shalamar. Title of this video will be, there's a global crisis in the money shortage for these big banks, the top banks in the world. I'm gonna let this play. I put the video right where he was talking the important stuff dealing with the world economy, not just in America, but the world economy. And we're starting to see how this dollar value of the dollar is shrinking, and it's not only affecting America, it's affecting global. He said it's a crisis going on across the whole entire world. So we know that there's going to be a time where the Petro Dollar is going to crash. These banking systems are going to crash. They're going to issue in a digital currency, which is going to lead up into the M.O.T.B, and we know that to be the RFID CHIP. So this is fair use, not for monetary gain, but for educational purpose only. Fair use.
He was one of the cockroaches. No wonder he's been able to call this cycle so well. No wonder he's been so prophetic through this whole entire process, because he had a front row seat as to how bad and how garbage these loans actually were. And just as a reminder, going back to step number one, MFS, Market Financial Solutions, which was a mortgage lender, borrowed more than $2.7 billion from groups like Barclays, Apollo, Atlas, and they completely went bust at the end of February. So my point here is it's not just isolated to the U.S. When these cycles play out, we go from the boom to the bust, it usually impacts the entire financial system and therefore impacts the entire global economy. Step number 3. Now let's go over why J.P. Morgan having problems with private credit is such a big deal, and reveals how there's all these systemic risks in the system that we need to pay attention to. We'll start off with a bank. Now this represents the banking system as a whole. Goes over to the economy. Now the economy circles round and round and round, and unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it's a debt-based monetary system, and it's a debt-based economy, meaning there's a lot of debt out there that needs to be rolled over constantly. And if that debt isn't able to be rolled over, then entities go bust, and it's a GFC 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, whatever 0.0 you want to throw in there, it's a GFC. So down here we have the labor market, which of course is a component of the economy, and it's crucial. This really needs to be the focal point. And then we go over here, we have businesses, and then we have these private credit guys that are borrowing from the banks. They have to pay back those loans. Okay, so what happens if the labor market starts to deteriorate? All right, so the labor market goes from this size, let's just say down to this size. Well, if the labor market shrinks, in other words, there's fewer people working, the unemployment rate goes up, the non-farm payrolls are negative, like we just saw, negative 92,000, whatever proxy you want to use, it's basically a representation for incomes or aggregate demand. So if we have the labor market go from this size down to this size, what happens to the amount of money, aggregate demand, that's going to these businesses? Well, that's going to shrink, obviously. So we'll get rid of one of these dollars. But that means there's fewer dollars going to the businesses that borrowed from private credit. So we've got to erase one of those. And then what happens, this guy doesn't get paid back. So he can't pay back the bank. So we get rid of that dollar. So now all of a sudden, the bank is saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We have to pump the brakes here. We have to be much more strict with our underwriting, and until we see how this plays out, we don't want to increase the size of our balance sheet. We might want to decrease it slightly. We want to be as conservative as possible. In other words, liquidity dries up, money gets tight. Well, that means that there's less money going into the economy that needed, let's just say, the $3 to sustain its current level of economic activity. All right, well, that means the economy starts to shrink, deteriorate. It goes from this size. Well, this is an accurate representation, but you guys get the idea here. It goes from this size, let's say, down to that size. It goes down, bottom line. It becomes smaller, which does what to the labor market? It makes it even smaller. And then we go ahead and erase one of these dollars. We erase one of these dollars. This entity blows up, can't pay back the banks. Money becomes even tighter. This is why there is so much systemic risk when the big banks like JP Morgan start to have problems. Now, I know a lot of you right about now are probably looking at this saying, oh my gosh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. It's terrifying,
But yeah, we know that this is prophecy that the small hats are behind. They're the ones that controls the international bank. The international banking families are the small hats, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Murdochs, Oppenheimers, as we know them, and plenty more. But they are doing this. They are they causing this action that's happening worldwide. So the money is starting to lose its value, so that what they can bring in their new world order, and that new world order is going to be that Revelation chapter 13, beginning verse 16, the M.O.T.B, which is the micro C hip. It only makes sense. There's going to be no more money. You can't buy or sell. Say if you have that chip in your right hand or your forehead, meaning the parts of your body is going to be in place, inserted underneath your skin, right? And that's going to come upon the whole entire world. Everybody, small and great, rich and poor, right? It's going to free and bond. You know, that means everybody going to have to get that chip, and only the elect isn't going to take that chip. That's what they fail to realize, that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai have reserved to him a remnant of Israel that he saved for himself, that's not going to bow a knee to this Baal and worship this beast system, which is Esau's government. I just want to grab a few scriptures. This is Psalms chapter 73, verse 12, and it reads, Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world, they increase in riches. And you know, that's dealing with Esau, Edom, beginning with the top elites. That's who they are. They're the wicked. And they prosper in this world behind the scenes because they're in control of those banks. They're the top international banking families that are behind the scenes actually crushing this system, this economic, causing this crisis, just so that they can issue in their agenda, which is the New World Order. That's their enterprise. Verse 18 says, Surely thou didst set them in a slippery places. Thou castest them down into destruction. And although they're going to bring it in, think they're going to become the enslave everyone on this earth, but they doesn't realize that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah has set them in a slippery place, because when they are doing this, when they bring in that M.O.T.B, that's when the World War III is going to start, right? And it's basically going to they're playing right into the hands of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, you know. There's in Job, let's get Job. Job 12 and 16 says, With him is strength and wisdom, and that him is dealing with Yahweh, the Heavenly Father. It says, With him is strength and wisdom, The deceived and the deceiver are his. So they thinking they're about to get rich and be the guys on this earth because they got everyone chipped and are slaved into their power, but they're just being set up by the Most High. This is James 5:1. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you." And that's dealing with the elite, again, the international backing families. They're the rich on this earth. They're the ones who can't get enough. They can't have enough of money, no matter how much money they have, no matter how much oil they have. They got enough money to, they'll never be able to spend in their lifetime. Even their children's children can't spend all that money that they already accumulated in their lifetime, but they still want more. So it says, "How to go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries." Yeah, because what Yahweh Shai or Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai is going to bring this destruction upon them. They're going to be howling. All the riches they got is going to be destroyed. It says, "Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-ridden." Meaning your works, your evilness, your wicked, everything about you is corrupted. The way you got your riches through ill gain, being wicked on this earth. Through the sword, you gain riches. Throughout all nations, you've done that to all nations. You did a continuous stroke against all the nations on this earth, especially the ones that matter, which is the Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indians. Verse 3, it says, "Your gold and silver is cankered." Yeah, it's rusted all over. You can't sell nothing that you can't sell or trade with gold or silver that's got all this rust all over it. I mean, heavy rust. "And this rust of them shall be a witness against you." And yeah, because when you see that just your enterprise didn't work, it's not going to work. When Yahweh shall bring it down, it's going to be all witness against you. You're gonna know who the Lord is when He come down and destroy this place, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Yeah, in this destruction that Yahweh Shah is gonna bring in the midst of World War III, because once that micro C hip comes out, the M.O.T.B, once that come out, then it's all game over. World War III is gonna be right after that, on the heels of that. And Yahweh Shah is coming in the midst of that World War III. He's gonna meet them. He's not gonna come back as a man. He's not gonna meet them as a man. It says, "Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days." You see that? And these are the last days that Yahweh is allowing these devils to set up their enterprise. They're gonna get everything set up. As soon as they're about to eat, as soon as they're about to enjoy their enterprise, then Yahweh is going to destroy them by Hashem Yahweh Shai. You see that? Through this World War III, and through Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai bust through them clouds with his angels inside of them chariots. These chariots are going to be doing a lot of killing, man. Yahweh Shai's vesture is going to be dipped in blood from Basra, talking about America. America is going to become that lake of fire. So with that, I pray you was edified. All praise is given to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakah Hakadosh. Shalom.